And we are back with another episode of On the Bench with Beaks. This is episode 34. I am your host, Cody Beekman. With me, as always, is Don't Think Twice, Bryce McMillan.
Never think twice. How's it going, boys?
And I've got Swooping Albatross Ross Moormeyer.
I'm swooping, and I'm flying.
Swooping on in. Unfortunately, Daniel Beatty could not be with us tonight. He's got some stuff to deal with. Our thoughts and positive vibes go out to his girlfriend right now, Mariantha. She's not feeling too good, so let's hope for a very quick recovery and hope she comes home soon.
Yeah, as our buddy Augie always says, just knee high, waist high, shin high slappies, like always posy in these situations.
Absolutely. All good vibes for our buddy Daniel.
Yeah.
All good vibes.
And to Mariantha as well, of course. We love you guys, so get well soon.
Yep.
All right, boys. Well, we've got a spectacular episode just waiting for us to tear into it. So let's get into it with a little bit of Hockey Day in history. Let's go Bryce this time for the first.
Ooh. Alrighty, right on. Thanks, boys. So got one right here, a little close to my Colorado heart.
Our Colorado Hearts?
Big OCO Hearts, me and you, Cody.
You're leaving Ross out, too?
Well, Ross is Ducks fan, so he doesn't count.
He's an Avs fan, too, don't you?
I guess he's second.
Don't judge.
Season tickets, Mom.
Yeah,
alright, fine. Ross is also an Avs fan. I'll give it to him.
Although I do want to say he does wear a fucking Ducks jersey every time they play.
And right now he's wearing a camo Ducks hat. No purple, no orange.
Oh, he wears that hat like every day.
It's my bowling hat. I'm kidding.
That's right. We love Ross. We love Ross. But let me go on ahead and go to my this day in hockey history. So,
get it.
What happened was Colorado Avalanche retired Patrick Waugh's number 33 sweater in a pregame ceremony, and later in the night they went on to win a game 4-2 over the Calgary Flames, and that happened on this day, October 28th in 2003.
You know what I love about the retired numbers for the Avalanche is that it is an actual line of hockey. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You've got 3 offensemen, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. That's like, and when people ask me like, what's your top Colorado Avalanche line? I kind of just like I just nod those off. I'm like, well, it's got to be these, because they're the numbers that are hanging up in the rafters.
Oh yeah,
top 5 hockey Hall of Fame right there, Colorado.
Oh yeah.
Well, and even the Ducks are supposed to start getting into that. I've heard rumors that JSGR might be going up to the rafters.
I'm surprised the Ducks haven't gotten jiggy with it yet.
Right, me neither.
All right, Ross, what you got, bud?
Well, I've got Wayne Gretzky was picked up 2 assists to become the first player in NHL history to get 1,100 career assists.
Oh yeah, that's no big deal. Do mind everybody that's listening. That comes with sarcastrophes. That's a huge deal. That's just insane. That's why he's the great one.
Oh yeah,
it is. Being able to pass the puck, being able to set people up is such a big part of the sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not only did he score goals, but he was able to set people up, create plays, and make things happen. And that's just a big part of the sport. And one more reason why Gretzky is the great one, right?
Well, and he always believed, which was instilled in him, which I always love, is that an assist is more important than a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Where did that puck come from?
Yeah, where's the open guy? Basically.
Yeah.
But that happened on this day in October 28th.
And a lot of the time, too, he was behind the net setting people up.
Oh, that's his office.
Called the Gretzky office.
That's his office, man.
But it was the 28th of 1988 that happened, so.
Nice. All right. Well, what I got here for you, October 28th, 1978, Bobby Orr scored his 270th and final goal of his NHL career during the Chicago Blackhawks 7-2 loss to the Detroit Red Wings at Olympia Stadium.
Oh boy, it's all right. Wow. It's the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they lost to the Red Wings, so
it's all right. At the time, they're a very good team.
At the time.
At the time.
At the time.
This is not anymore.
Sorry.
Not anymore.
Well, I mean, either way, Bobby Orr, last goal, October 28th, 1978.
Womp,
Boom.
womp.
All
kidding.
right. So this past week, we did have a pretty massive loss to the hockey community. Joey Moss, the longtime locker room attendant for the Edmonton Oilers, passes away at 57.
And my heart goes out to his family, guys. I mean, and everyone out there. Like, he sounded like he was just an amazing personality in and out of the locker room. So,
I mean, just looking at what happened here, I mean, just looking at his history, he was kind of like a glue for the locker room in a sense.
Yeah, actually,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you have so many extremely notable professionals like Kelly Buchberger. I mean, Wayne Gretzky even got him his job. You know, I mean, even Taylor Hall and all these pros coming out and just saying what an incredible influence he was, and just an all around incredible person.
well, and even the Ducks coach, he coached over in Edmonton as an assistant, if I remember correctly. And he was really downtrodden about that because he was just an amazing voice in the locker room, he said. He
Yeah.
was just a staple for that whole entire team.
Well, and that's huge. I mean, just to be, you're a locker room attendant, which actually we got a lot of had opened our eyes with that interview with Nick Meldrum. Actually has a lot to do with the locker rooms in general.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, to be such a huge influence on the guys going out there and playing hockey is huge.
Well, yeah, and even as long as he's done it, because he got, hired with the Edmonton Oilers, as we talked about, in 85, 86?
82, 83.
82, 83. So he's seen five cups. Like, championship. I mean, Wayne Gretzky, the story behind that, I mean, if you don't know people, his aunt had Down syndrome. And they took her in instead of putting her in basically the hospital system. And basically, yeah, he grew up and knew how to, I mean, not even deal with Down syndrome and just people with those types of, like, disabilities, but just treat everybody. Like, that probably gave him kind of something in his heart where you treat everybody equally.
Well,
and it says that in that interview.
Well, it shows incredible character by Wayne.
Oh, yeah. Because he saw him at, what was it? I don't know if you read the article.
He ended up actually dating his sister.
Yeah, and he always saw him at the bus stop leaving right around the Edmonton Oilers arena at that time. And he asked, I think it was the GM or somebody that, yeah.
And just reading on it, I mean, Gretzky advised the team to give Moss a tryout as a locker room attendant, and he ultimately held the position for almost 3 decades, 30 years, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's seen 5 cups, and that was in 84, 85, 87, and 90.
And I was, this is a story just
That might be, what was it, 89 as well?
No, 90.
90?
Be 90.
Okay.
And just a good story about him, that I was reading on when everything happened was in 2006 when the Oilers made a great playoff run, actually. Didn't win the Cup, made a great playoff run. He had a hernia at the time, and he decided to postpone his operation just so that way he could be in the locker room, be with the guys, do his job. And he postponed that hernia surgery just so that we could be there and see that.
I did read that. And
That's what I
amazing.
call jam. That
Yeah.
is jam right there.
It's very much jam. I think, you look at a hockey player, you play tough, you play through your injuries, things like that. And I think, at the end of the day, I mean, again, talking about the glue of the locker room, he definitely showed a lot of spirit. And I think, this is a great story, just about himself. And the work ethic, and just as a hockey player, even though he didn't play on the ice with the team, he had a NHL mentality.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Joey, he became this incredible glue in the locker room, but he became such an incredible ambassador
of the sport.
Well, not just the sport, but the community living with Down syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the guy's a household name in the community, and like what he's done to spread awareness and just really show people that people living with disabilities are not different than anybody else.
Hell no.
And I mean, just as a person living with a disability myself, I gotta say I look up to the guy because he's made such incredible strides for a community that kind of gets looked down upon because they're because maybe a society's prejudice or for lack of a better word, prejudice, or maybe they're just scared to really understand what it's like, or to even get to know somebody living with a disability.
Yeah.
And for him to make such incredible strides for that community, I've just got to say I'm forever indebted to him because he's made huge waves for folks living with disabilities.
Totally, and just on that kind of point though, let's not overlook what he did for the team. I mean, some of his duties were, it was cleaning after locker rooms after games, practices, handing towels out, giving people water, running errands for equipment managers like Sparky Kluchinski. So those are the kind of people that and the things that he did. And so don't overlook what the things he did. Very important things.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say, I'm going to correct myself. It was 84, 85, 87, 88, and 90 that he saw that. And just, he had, as you said, that jam, and I think that he just brought something else special to that locker room. Like, I mean, just personality-wise, all of that, I mean, yeah.
Just incredible. And so, I mean, I think we all lost a real good one over this past week, and I feel like we can all learn something from him, man. Just that jam, that drive, that commitment. That, I mean, stuff's not always going to be good.
Oh no.
Whether you're dealt with it before you're born, or when if it's dealt to you during life, you can always overcome things.
Yep.
And Joey Moss is a perfect. I actually would probably say the epitome of that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I love the article that I read. And basically, I'm going to summarize it. Is right at the end they had this big long quote, but he is basically the unsung hero of the Edmonton Oilers. And I just love how, because I've read about how the community just knows him. Anybody that's even in Canada, they know him. Like anybody that's within the hockey community knows him.
Oh,
yeah. And
I
mean, if you're that deep rooted and embedded in a sport, invested in it, I mean, that is the best way that you can describe a guy in that kind of higher aspect, is that he is the unknown, unsung hero he was a well-known unsung hero, and he didn't even know it, and he treated everybody like just people. And I love it.
He had a passion. He stuck with the passion, loved the passion, and so he never worked a day in his life, as we all like to say, right?
Oh yeah, do something you love. You'll never work a day in your life.
But at the end of the day, in the words, from Cody itself, depending on what you have going on, like he's just a great guy to just have he's a good role model.
I love also how Gretzky, when he got his number retired with the Oilers, he had him like front and center right in front of him.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, and between that and Ray Bork, that's probably one of the 2 times that I probably have actually cried during a ceremony.
You cried during the Niedermeyer ceremony, don't you lie?
Okay, yeah, I did. And the Korea, I was there. Yeah.
Probably the Irishman one too.
Wow.
Oh, get
Ease off it. Ease off it. But no, those are really actually 2 times that I actually cried, because that was just a huge moment in sports history. And just in those franchises, period. I'm sorry, I'll get off my high horse. But
well, I'll tell you right now, Joey, thank you for all that you've done for hockey, for the community of people living with disabilities, and and everything that you've done for the Oilers. So, good night, sweet Prince.
Good night, sweet Prince. Yeah, I mean, Oilers community, his family. Our thoughts go out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cody.
All right, so I guess we'll move on to maybe a little more lighthearted subject now.
Oh, yeah.
So literally today, the Dallas Stars released their reverse. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It must have been something. Sorry.
It is October. If you have not seen The Exorcist, puke.
Yeah. It was
take a look
green
at the
pea
Dallas
soup.
Stars
It was
jersey.
green pea soup. It's all right.
As neon green as these god awful things. Anyways, yeah, so the Dallas Stars released their reverse retro jerseys, and I'd be remiss if I did not say that they are absolutely awful.
Can I go out on a limb? It's like if Monster and Laser Tag had a love child.
Monster Energy drink, and yes, yeah, definitely that lime green and black. It looks just like a laser tag jersey. Yeah, there you go.
No, it's like hit me right here, but you also have these points on the arms and all of that. But it's Monster Green. It's not the Victory Green. We talked about that. It's like a neon like Victory Green, which is just. It's hard on
I'm
the
just
eyes.
gonna ask,
I'm just
what
gonna
kind
say
of
that.
crack were the Dallas Stars smoking?
Whatever you're
When they're
on,
like,
give me
"Oh,
that.
yeah, this is
Maybe it
gonna be
wasn't
great."
crack. Maybe it was just Molly, and they liked the idea of neon colors.
Yeah, probably, man. Like, apparently they hired some club kids for like jersey redesign or
Really, is this
something.
a college group who decided to make these jerseys out of Dallas Lubbock?
I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm all for going out on a limb and trying something new, but these things are just ugly. Neon colors are not hockey jerseys,
No, like as I talked to you guys about the what was it, Tampa Bay Lightning, the way that they did that faded like black to like gray.
Yeah.
That was to a point, all right. It wasn't the best thing that they did, but it wasn't the worst thing that they could possibly do. I mean, come on, Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't even like it when like football teams do like
No.
neon colors. I just don't get it. I just do not get neon colors for anything like that's practical. I just don't get it.
No.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
It is, aesthetically, it's not very pleasing.
No. Well, and it depends on like how you do it. The way that they did it, oh hell no. If you do like piping around like the emblem and stuff.
Yeah, we'll do it like the San Jose incorporates the orange.
Yes. Exactly.
But I mean, don't make it the entire like the front runner. Like first thing you see is that fucking neon green. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I'm happy they did not do is make the neon green the solid part of the jersey instead of the trim. That could have been really bad.
That's one.
That's
like
how you
literally look like a freaking highlighter playing hockey.
Yeah. Either that or you go snowblind by like looking at your TV because it's too bright or something.
Oh gosh.
Are there rules to how bright your uniform can be?
Apparently not, because this one might be touching the tip of that rule if there was.
Really,
But-
if this is how Dallas Stars is looking, I can't wait to see what Vegas comes out with.
Well,
they already came
their
out
third
with something.
jersey was literally just. I mean, yeah, you
Are they
could
going to be
probably
gold? Just straight
like
gold?
if you see have you not seen the third jersey for the Vegas Golden Knights? It looks like if you saw one in person, you'd get a tan from it.
It's what Cody's wearing. He's got a Wild Bill
It's
jersey.
literally
It's
like the
that
main
gold
color is this
is
gold
the main
for the
color.
armband.
Yeah, I mean, that is just insane to
And
me.
then-
Because no, I have not seen that. And now that you did explain it to me, I can't believe they actually
But if
did
you've
it.
seen the retro jersey, it's like all red, like the old Florida Panthers jersey.
Possible.
And it
Right.
has the the shoulder patches right on the front, just as a crest piece. It's like, oh my god. But
I'll tell you what, both are super ostentatious. So I mean,
they're insufferable. Ostentatious? No, they are insufferable. Especially, as I said, if there's small accents of it, or kind of do like your black and grays like Carolina did for theirs.
yeah.
That was awesome. I love those jerseys.
It's like the Matrix made a hockey jersey.
Yeah.
No.
Not
It's more
even.
like,
But no. Oh.
The
it's
Dallas
more like
Stars.
Michael Egg made a hockey jersey. If y'all don't know who
I
Michael
thought he was
Egg
talking
is, look
about-
up,
I thought he was
club
talking-
kids in the
I
U.S.
was referring to the Dallas jersey.
No, he was referring to the Dallas jersey. No, the Carolina jersey is done right.
Yeah.
Those were spelt. Those are awesome. But the way that Dallas went about it, I know it's all LED lights and stuff for downtown, but lay off it, man.
Dicey at best.
Oh, not even.
Well, at best.
Leave it at the door.
All right. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. I don't know if you
Thank
can tell,
goodness.
but I'm not a big fan of it. But so let's move on. We're talking lately. There's been some talk about possibly being a bubble division for
It's-
next season, where there's
Allegedly.
allegedly. So basically, what you've got is you've got 4 different divisions where, I mean, obviously a number of teams would play in a bubble.
Yeah, at either one stadium, or they'd play across that whole entire, continent or whatnot. So
It's essentially what looks like you'd play everyone in your division a lot more than what you usually would have before.
well, and
Well,
it
there's
also
there's a lot of questions that arise here too. So as you can look at the map, and you can see that all of the American Western Conference, just the American teams would play. All the Canadian teams would play each other, no matter be in the same bubble. So all the Canadian teams would be in one bubble, and then obviously the Metro Division would have a bubble, and then the Atlantic Division would also have a bubble. See that, but this raises a lot of questions for me, and the first one that I can think of is, what happens when a Western team has to play an Eastern team? Do you travel to one or the other bubbles?
Yeah,
Or how are you going to be going about that?
that's what I'm wondering, because I mean it splits. It will, and we'll post this up, ladies and gents, online. But just the way that it's separated out, because some of the Western Conference teams are in different divisions than, and also same with the Eastern Conference
Yeah,
teams.
that's true. Chicago and St. Louis are
and Detroit as
in-
well.
Yeah, well,
They just-
Detroit's always been in the Eastern since the last change.
And I think this clearly is done on purpose. I think the idea behind that is you're going to be playing these teams multiple times, maybe through an 82 team schedule until you have the playoffs.
Yeah.
How do you build an 82 game schedule when you have to play Eastern Conference as well? What I'm asking is, when it comes to these Eastern Conference games, how do you choose the bubble? Do you do it?
I've been trying to figure that out by looking at the map. I mean,
Or even teams in your conference, like how would an American Western Conference team play a Canadian Western Conference team if they're in different bubbles?
oh, exactly.
I mean, there'd be some modifications there, obviously. You wouldn't just sit back and kind of hope that they just wouldn't go at it.
What kind of modifications? do
Well,
I mean, you would
be?
definitely have to obviously look at the testing piece of this. I mean, testing every single day
Well,
throughout
there's
the
no
part of that
question.
would have to be an issue. But I mean, when you look at how you bring these two conferences together at the end of the day, I mean, you'd have
That's
to
what I'm
essentially. Yeah,
asking.
well, that's what I'm getting at is. You have to just match them up based on team by team. I mean, that's how you would have to do it. There's no other question about it. Is you would have to go through each individual game, team by team, and kind of play out that conference.
Ooh.
Do you realize how much work that is going to be?
It's
And
gonna
if
be a lot
the
of work.
NHL hopes to start by January 1st, how in the world are they actually going to finish all of that work?
So, you know how we usually, in the regular season, face each Eastern Conference team 2 times, home and away.
Of course.
So, depending on where it is, you just have it at a bubble. You have your Toronto and your Edmonton still, and then you figure out another bubble to where you can have all of the main Western and Eastern Conference teams. You get what I'm
to
saying?
pair up the bubbles,
Wow.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah, and if you have to travel to that, you get extra lead time and also have to take a COVID test. It's like so.
At this point, with even the season starting in January, there is no lead time.
Yeah.
They don't have extra lead time.
Well,
They're
no.
also they have to suspend the All-Star game and the Winter Classics
And consider this,
because
too.
they don't have enough time anyways in the season.
Yeah.
If they're planning on finishing anywhere near where they usually finish,
Well, I'm just saying
The
lead
season.
time within the season to where, okay, we're facing Minnesota, the Blue. You get what I'm saying? Oh,
what I'm
we're
saying is they
within the
don't
bubble
have
here.
that time.
Well,
Not unless you want the season to run longer.
But
Yeah.
let me just focus on this point here. So the Canadian
That's
border
true.
and American border are closed off to each other. No matter what way or how, right now, are players going to be able to fly from U.S. to Canada?
Well, players were
So-
able to fly into Canada from the U.S. for the playoffs. I don't think
Yes.
that's going to be a problem too much.
No, this is the NHL talk right now. Is there's been changes in between, obviously, what happened previously with COVID and the playoffs. What's
Oh, okay.
happening now? There's been a lot of updates between that. And so what I've been reading is that NHL they are obviously like trying to decide if they want to just keep like an American League and a Canadian League too. At the same time, because you can't cross the border. So there's lots of different adaptions that can play into that. So there has been changes since the playoffs, but right now they're not even considering really trying to cross the border.
I don't even. Well, to have an American and Canadian league, that's even worse.
We're not dividing up the leagues themselves, but we're talking about, essentially kind of dividing up the conferences from who's in Canada and who's in America too.
are we
Okay,
going
so-
back to the WHA
so are we
and the
talking-
fucking NHL? Like, seriously.
Well,
Like-
that's the thing. The thing is that like how can you expect, 7 Canadian teams to fill an 82 schedule
Yeah.
when they're just playing them?
Exactly. Like,
I think this develops over time too. Like obviously they want to try to do a start on January 1, but who knows what happens come, March.
I think
April.
they've been planning this the whole entire time, and that was what they came up with the playoff scheme. The whole entire playoffs helped them gain traction to what an idea is. I'm pretty sure what they did, flawless. Like,
Well, for a playoff scheme, it was great. Absolutely.
and I'm pretty sure that they could probably come up with the same scheme. You only have a certain amount of hub cities, and you have those. Yeah, those.
Thus brings on my next question: is will these players have to stay in these hubs for the entire season?
I think so. If you're going to be playing a season and not risk anybody
No.
else getting sick,
Well-
look at the NFL right now. The guys are all going home.
Thus
There's-
raises a problem.
No, it does.
How many of these married hockey players with kids and families want to go stay for 6 months in a hub without seeing their family at all?
No,
At the same time, things could be
Not at
modified.
all.
Families could be a part of that. You're just in a bubble the entire time.
They-
Nobody gets to leave. Nobody
Well,
gets to do anything, but you're with your family.
How many?
But-
Well, then this brings
That's
on
their
the
kids.
next question.
That's
How
everything.
many families are going to be down for that?
Yeah.
Kids have to go to school. Other, wives have jobs. That doesn't seem like a very sustainable option for me.
No, God, that would be just so hard.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No,
really.
and I'm trying to think of,
I'm trying to learn. I'm just trying to look at it from all directions.
And you know
here.
me, I'm trying to just think ahead. I don't think that they could do it, but I'm just on the opposite side, just trying to just think.
Well, all of us, we're just like, yeah, go stay in the hub city. I want to watch hockey,
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of things to think about here, and that's why I kind of think this whole bubble division is a little problematic.
It is.
Maybe not a
especially-
little, but quite problematic for
Yeah.
a lot of different reasons.
Oh yeah.
Another
Well,
option they're thinking about is maybe limiting the number of games that teams play within these bubbles.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't get an 82 game season. Maybe you kind of just end up like you did last year. You finish up the season where it was, not at an 82 game season, and you play the playoffs again. That's another possibility that I've been reading about.
Yeah,
But
or it's to like
needless-
62 or 42 games. I've
Like
even
MLB.
read.
But
Yeah.
you still got these guys staying in a hub. It's not like they're going to be able to leave after the season is done. They're going to have to stay or move to the bubble where the playoffs are.
Yeah.
So no matter what, even if you do shorten up the season, you got guys still not seeing your family, still not seeing your kids, still not being able to pretty much experience any other realm except for the bubble that the NHL has set for them. How many players are really going to go for that?
God, no.
As
Never
a player,
mind.
though, I look at if I was an NHL player, this is the way you make your life. This is your living. This is how you pay your mortgage. This is how you and the rest of your family. Maybe give or take, some families are different. This could be exactly how you make your living. And so if it is, you're like military people. It's not the same. I understand different angles, but gosh, they go months and months in doing a job and come home. It looks like, if you're an NHL hockey player, wherever that might be, you're going to be in a bubble for a while until things change. This is not a permanent solution at all. This is just, something we have to do until things get better, until I think everyone's able to cope with, the COVID situation right now.
It's to me, it's dicey. I really don't see a lot of a lot of players going for that. Not at all. That's a good point you made about. Military people go through all this, but when you're a hockey player and you signed a contract, you knew you were going to be going around a lot, but it was never understood that you were going to be sitting in a hub away from your family for 6 months, maybe 8 months.
And again, there might be an option for these players if they want to do it, they can. If they want to opt out, they can opt out.
Yeah.
That's what happened with the NFL. Beginning of this year, they decided, if some players wanted to opt out and not play it all this season, they can. I think that's up to each individual player and their personal family situation. They can opt out and play, they cannot play. But at the end of the day, if you sign a contract and you're going to be playing a certain amount of games, if you're playing in a bubble, and you look at, the contracts that you have with television and communications, things have to be done. You can't let these things go. So at the end of the day, if you love your sport, love your job, you're going to play. But there's also an option for these players, again, to opt out too as well.
And then, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but so what happens when more players opt out rather than decide to play?
There might be some repercussions in terms of their contracts, in terms of the NHL and how they view that team by team basis, player by player basis, how agents view it.
So what if a Sidney Crosby decides to opt out, or an Alexander Ovechkin decide to opt out?
That's definitely a possibility. No one's taking it off the table. When that happens, I guess teams have to adapt like the rest of America has to the virus. There's
you don't think there will be any sort of lashback?
Look at MLB. There's been players that have opted out. There's been players NFL that have opted out for the entire year, and they have seen repercussions on their contracts for that 1 year. That's what happens if you decide not to play. That's a repercussion. If you do decide to play, well then, hey, we're gonna fill your contract. The option is, of course, you've been talking about is family time. But then as a player, you think about this: is if I've done this for 4 months for playoffs and try and go to the bubble already, what's another 2 months? So there's another thing to think about on the player side too as well.
Well, if you think, if you're thinking like a whole season in the bubble, it's going to be way more than just 2 months. So it's going to be like more like a majority of the year.
It's going to be about 5 to 6 months at least.
And if you end up going to the playoffs, it'll be even longer.
Yeah, you have another 3 to 4 months on top of that.
Of course, and then you look at the map right now, right? How it's sectioned off. No one's saying you can't go to a game and fly back to your house. No one's saying you can't do that yet. No one just crossing borders. No one's trying to go into another state where there's a big flare of coronavirus and vice versa. No one says you can't go there, but I think when playoff time hits and the season shrinks maybe, and
Sorry.
condensed, well, then maybe things will change a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of defeats the whole idea of the bubble anyways. If you're letting players fly back and forth from home to the bubble, then why even have the bubble at that point?
Again, it's looking at other leagues like NFL, things like that, see how they're kind of doing things. They're allowed to go home and fly back, go to practices. But again, NHL's different. NHL was the first organization out of the Big Four to really have, successful championship award without having any COVID cases. So there's one thing about the NHL they've done right. Look at other leagues. They have not done it right. There's been COVID cases in the NFL. There's been COVID cases in the MLB. So, yeah, there could be a big possibility you're going to be in a bubble.
Because they travel. That's kind of like...
Well, and they have free reign to go home and stuff like that.
And that's because of that. I mean, no, if you're going to stick... as I said, I feel that the NHL has thought about this, and especially during the playoffs, on how they're going to do this the next season. And I think it's going to be 2 main hub cities, and then there's maybe going to be one that's going to be intermediate between the 2 divisions on the East and the West. And then somehow it's going to work out. But either that or you're going to have everybody in the bubble again.
I just don't see that being a viable option.
Yeah.
I don't see players being okay with that. I don't see coaches being okay with that. To be in a bubble for that long, I just don't see it.
Now, another thing I was going to say, too, is, if teams start having COVID cases arise like the NFL has, if you look at the Tennessee Titans, if you look at the Patriots, the league has come down on them on draft picks. They've fined them for not doing what you need to do as an organization to keep people safe. So, there is a way of doing things right. Maybe players can go back to their families. Maybe they won't. At the end of the day, I think each individual organization needs to be held accountable individually, not as seen as entity of the NHL. There's a thing there that says, hey, if one organization, if all of these 32 organizations do things right, but 2 don't, that doesn't say a whole lot about the league. It says something about organizational structure and how things are functioning.
Oh, I'm not saying anything about how the league will deal with it. I'm just saying about how the players will deal with being secluded for so very long.
Which I agree with that. As we talked about, they're going to do a 6-month season, probably. And then, as we saw, it's going to be 3 to 4 months for playoffs. And they're going to be segregated from everybody.
Exactly, and they've had time to think about this. There's plenty of options on the table. We're just looking at the map now and how it is, things that they face right now on paper. Who's to say, what happens in December is not exactly what the NFL is doing. NHL could copy that in some sort of function, and teams could have more freedom. They could not. They could be staying in a bubble. They could not. Really, it's all just kind of seeing what it looks like on paper right now. So.
Well, yeah, it's all basically just a hypothetical right now. But it's definitely always good to look at that.
I hope they don't, because the system that they had was working so good. But,
when you go from 24 teams to 16 teams, it's not a 31-team thing, You're dealing with hundreds of extra other people at that point,
Oh yeah.
As they, with how they were dealing with it in the playoffs, this is countless other people that you have to think about when you add the extra amount of teams that you didn't have in the playoffs.
Yep. And they've also already cleared them for starting to do team practices and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know that. To me, this hypothetical bubble division is just completely impractical. Blah. In all reality, I really think the NHL would be looking in a different direction rather than this.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't have a better option off the top of my head that they could do.
No, none of us do.
Which is unfortunate.
That's why I'm just throwing out ideas out into the wind. It's just like, well, it could be this, it could be that. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
It depends on how, as I said, I think the playoffs kind of hopefully gave them time to think about how they're possibly going to do the situation.
Yeah.
And think with how they did the playoffs, they can learn. That's a learning block, basically.
Well, I mean, yeah, and not to diminish what the NHL did in the playoffs, because, I mean, 0 cases in, like, a 3-month span is huge.
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely insane, and, I mean...
And that's bringing back people from, like, Russia, Czechoslovakia, like...
Oh, well, yeah, from
all their home
over.
countries, like, even...
Which is, I mean, largely commendable, so, I mean, everybody wants to throw Gary Bettman and Bill Daley underneath the bus, but, I mean, their group really knocked it out of the park with the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. No, they did top notch.
It's just I don't see any realistic way of going about a bubble for a regular season.
No, I don't either. As I said, I'm just throwing ideas out into the wind and just hoping they catch it, basically.
Yeah, for real. Well, whatever they choose to do, I really hope that it works out and you don't see these many cases of COVID popping up during the season like the NFL has and the MLB has.
And even the NBA in the playoffs. They had a bunch of COVID cases. Yeah, in their playoffs. The NHL, it was all before. It was all pre. It was all the team, practices and all that stuff. So
yeah, and like I said, they did a stand-up job eradicating that in the playoffs. Let's face it. I mean, you're gonna get COVID eventually, or somehow. I mean, somebody's going to.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, if they can really limit the amount of cases throughout a season, and however they do it, it's a feasible and practical way. I'm all for it. But as of right now, it's just not looking like that right now. So hopefully they can figure it out before January 1.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have a few months too. The offs are over.
I mean, you gotta imagine that they've been thinking about this. I mean, even since they were working on the playoffs.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it was kind of like a preemptive strike or something in the back of their head since then, and I think they might have with the playoffs, as I reiterated, that they've just fine-tuned it.
Oh yeah,
hopefully.
Beauty learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they did 100% well. I mean, A+ on their part for sure.
Yep.
So I don't know. We'll have to we'll keep an eye on this, and
we'll keep you updated.
Well, hopefully they figure it out. So today, I think we're gonna look at. I mean, we've been talking a lot about this year's draft and this free agency. I think we're gonna look today. We're gonna look at last year's rookies that actually played in the show.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking like Jack Hughes, Capo Caco, like all the big, draftees of last year, draftees of last year. So I think we're just gonna go around and say who we were impressed with and who wasn't.
Yeah, but we kind of just talk about expectations. Were they what we expected them to be on their teams? And if so, we'll elaborate on that a little bit, and then from there we'll talk about things that maybe disappointed us, and kind of talk about where things could lead and things people could improve on as well. So from here, I guess Cody, let's go for it.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're a big NHL guy, you know about Jack Hughes. To me, Jack Hughes was a total dud. Total dud. I mean, his brother over in Vancouver, Quinn, huge season. I mean, obviously, Calder Trophy candidate. And Jack Hughes was supposed to be this kind of guy that comes into the league and completely just, shines. And honestly, I was very disappointed with Jack Hughes. I mean, I think maybe 10 goals in his first season, and I mean, you got other rookies in the league that are surpassed him.
Look at a couple years ago. You had Brock Bessier and Elias Peterson, and Besser and Pedersen. And these guys, you know, they come into the league and just lit it up. So I agree with you. You know, there's a little bit of Hughes. Definitely should have did a little bit better. I mean, in terms of goal scoring or, you know, just being able to assist people a little bit more, playmaking ability, those kinds of things. You know, I think compared to, you know, like especially, you know, Pedersen, you know, there's a big difference there.
When Pedersen...
100%.
But I was very impressed with, you know, Quinn Hughes, though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the other Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, so he had pretty much a raw point total, especially with blue liners, you know, since Lidstrom and his rookie campaign, you know. I mean, Hughes has made the strongest case. I mean, top rookie year. I mean, he was probably the best of the best besides Cale Makar. I mean, the guy came out and he was literally what you asked for in a rookie. I mean, he paired up with every single line mate he had on there this year. So I'm really, really happy with Quinn Hughes'.
Well, and what's huge about Quinn Hughes is, you know, last year Vancouver really didn't have that strong of a defensive core.
No, they didn't.
So, I mean, he's seen really big minutes. As a rookie, he's seen huge minutes, and I'll say it till the day I die. Coming into the league as a rookie defenseman rather than a forward is always 100 times tougher.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, Quinn Hughes was drafted a year before, so he had a little bit of time to really, kind of like watch the game and get a little stronger before he made his NHL debut. I'm gonna call
Dubois.
And that gave him some time, and obviously his brother Jack got thrown into the fire. But I would definitely agree with you. The better Hughes this year was definitely Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
And I mean, speaking of being thrown into the fire, my next, pick would be Cale Makar. I mean, his first 2 games was against the Flames. Talking about being thrown into the fire, like
in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, and the guy, like literally his first game ever, came in, had an assist and a goal.
Yep.
And to be completely honest with you, Cale had a kind of a slow start to the season. I remember watching early Avs games, and he was definitely gripping the stick way too hard.
Yeah, we talked about that when we went to the Avs games. It's like, dude, you need to not just clinch on that stick. Just kind of just go with the flow, you know?
Well, and you gotta think, the adrenaline levels are totally different. I mean, you just came off of, playing in the Frozen Four, and not even a couple of days later, you're put into an Avalanche sweater and in a playoff game nonetheless. Like, hey, kid, go out there and show us your stuff.
Yeah. You are in the Yoffs. Get the hell out there.
That is adrenaline at its finest. I mean, playing in the NHL is an adrenaline rush enough as it is. But I mean, when you're coming into like the start of a season and it's not as critical that you play so out of this world.
Yeah,
it's definitely not the same as hopping right into a playoff game in your home province, nonetheless, as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. So I will say that it did take him a little bit to really kind of like calm down and really find his game, but once he did.
He did. He had a very, very slow start.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Absolutely.
Very slow start.
Show.
I think it was either my buddy Corey or my dad that I just all of a sudden, Cale Makar scored his first goal, and I was just crawling all over him, screaming, just.
Oh, I think every Avs fan was. I mean,
I'm trying to lift him up at the same time. I'm kidding.
It's the first period you score a goal in your first playoff game, in your first NHL game as a rookie, your first night ever. Like, what a feeling!
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Only so many people can really say that they've done something like that.
But I thought he was just after his, when he went through the Frozen Four and came to the NHL, I thought he was just gonna lose a little bit of poop, He wouldn't. It was oh God! It was like from it. It's not even like he went from college to the professionals. It was like he was playing in the professionals the whole entire time. Man.
Just a natural gamer.
Yeah. And what's unfortunate, and it's gonna bring me to my next rookie that I want to talk about is John Marino in Pittsburgh. What? I mean, the kid, you're really kind of like running uphill when you've got guys like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes ahead of you. I mean, obviously, all the focus
is all rookies and shifts per game this year.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, when you're kind of behind those two, you don't really get a lot of the spotlight. But I got to say, Marino in Pittsburgh, he was incredible. He played really well, had an incredible point streak going for him. And just like you said, Marino led all rookies in shifts that year. So that's huge. I mean, for to come in as a rookie and lead all rookies, especially on the back end,
that's huge. Yeah,
and he's playing 5 minutes plus a period. He averaged 20 minutes per game.
I mean, that's no slack. I mean, that is Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you didn't really hear much about him because of those two names, which is understandable. Obviously, you're looking at these two hotshot rookies that are battling it out for the Calder Trophy. But yeah, John Moreno, I mean, he's gonna be a player, man, and I think that was a great draft by Pittsburgh. Really,
Yeah.
No, he is. He had 26 points in his rookie year as a defenseman. You can't ask for much more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't mean to giggle out of oh, yeah. It was like, how could we forget about him?
It's easy. It really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I felt like a dummy.
but I mean, you gotta give the kid props, and as long as he stays on the right path, continues to develop, and just keeps playing the way he does, I mean, there's really no ceiling for that kid.
Well, and if we're going with no ceiling, how about Kubalik?
Dominic Kubalik. Wow, what a wild.
Good choice, Ross. Good choice.
Like, seriously, no, I didn't think he was gonna be jack shit, honestly, this year. I'm sorry, Dominic Kubalik, but I love you. I love your work. I've seen it before the show, but I mean, yeah. He comes in and he basically stood on his head and he just helped the Hawks out to get to where they were, basically in the playoffs and actually in the show last year.
And I mean, let's talk about that, because I mean, Alex DeBrincat, his next season, his past season, was a very forgettable season after the one he had before.
Oh, easily.
And so for Dominic Kubalik to come in and step into that goal scorer's kind of role, that's huge. That's gigantic. I mean, I mean, he was no slouch in HC Ambri Piotta. I mean, 50 games, 25 goals, 32 assists.
Right.
Comes into the show, 68 games, 30 goals, 16 assists.
Well, and one thing I love about Kubalik is that, and I love his last name, it's fun to say, but he wouldn't get like the wide open pockets, boys. He would find the nitty-gritty spots and he would just rifle it home.
He did. He gets the puck kind of at an alarming rate. He always gets the puck on his stick, through hard passes in the corner, wherever it is. He gets these hard passes. He's always getting the puck.
That's evidence of a high hockey IQ. See, the thing is if you always end up getting the puck on the stick, you know where to go in the right places. You know where to find the spots to be, where the puck can find you. And that is Dominic Kubalik in a nutshell.
He's like a weird, I don't know, don't quote me, I guess like a weird two-way grinder. In a sense.
Well, he's a good two-way forward in general.
But just overall, he grinds on each end. He's always there.
What was it? 30 goals, you said, Cody?
Yeah, 30 goals,
and that's a nice
assists.
plateau. I mean, it's a great plateau to have rookie? 30 goals as a rookie. And keep that in mind, he topped all first-year rookies with that goal tally.
Yeah. Which, I mean, even he snuck into the Calder candidate running. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
And what's ridiculous about that is that a lot of people were surprised that he was even considered.
How good...
I'm like, dude, have you been watching this kid? This is just insane.
I was at first, and then I started, paying attention to him after you mentioned something about him. I'm like, where the hell?
Yeah.
You got your Tangs, you got your Canes, but Kubalik... is just coming in clutch like day in and day out.
Well, that just comes with the territory, like the same as the Moreno
Oh yeah,
instance. Everybody's looking at Jack Hughes and Capo Caco, but then over here, this kid Kubalik is just tearing up the league.
so can we go on a downslope with Kapakako since?
Anyways, in New York, especially now, I mean, where they got the first overall pick, and I mean, they're really starting to build a team there.
Yeah.
So I think
No, that's where I got that from. My bad.
In the very least, I mean, Capo Caco's numbers can definitely go up. I think. I mean, you walk in, you're not the all eyes on rookie. It's your second year. Alexei Lafreniere now has to be the one to prove his name. So
Basically,
I think when you talk about Jack Hughes and Capo Caco, I think Capo Caco has more of a ceiling than Jack Hughes does.
oh, easily,
me too.
dude.
Unless New Jersey can get really serious about building up their team.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah, Jersey has a long way to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
and
it's even same with the Rangers. Like,
well, to be completely honest with you, I mean, getting Artemi Panarin, having Capo Caco, and now having the likes of an Alexei Lafreniere, also adding to the lineup, I think they're a little further along than New Jersey for sure.
oh yeah.
For sure.
So, we'll go with one of Keats' favorites. After this one, Elvis Merzlikins.
I mean, good for him. Good. He had a whale of a season after. I mean, so many games going without even a win.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, you almost kind of look at your own self and you're like, am I really even ready to play in the NHL?
Well, and he stood on his head.
Oh yeah,
in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
He set he set an NHL record at that point.
He's under the age threshold too, and he had over a .923 save percentage.
That's just insane.
That's
less than a goal of a game. Basically a goal a game at that.
I mean, there's a reason why Keats loves him so much. I mean, obviously, the Latvian influence is a huge part, but I mean, the kid's a solid goaltender.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, as long as he keeps getting that cut and he keeps playing like he is, I mean, there's a huge upside to Merzlikins. I mean, maybe he struggled a little bit in the playoffs when he got those 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, first game he comes in and he puts a shutout up, but the next game not so much. But I mean, the kid's young. Kid's young.
Speaking of shutouts, he had 5 shutouts out of 33 starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Huge.
still, for a rookie, just for him to come out, and just do what he did. Oh my God.
And speaking of rookies in the playoffs, Thatcher Demko coming in and coming up huge for the Vancouver Canucks when Markstrom went down.
Yep.
I do want to give a tip of the hat to Thatcher Demko as well. I mean, that's huge.
Yep.
I mean, in the playoffs, like very do or die games. Good on you, Thatcher. I got to say that, and obviously they're gonna maybe look at he's gonna be joined with Braden Holtby this year, so hopefully under Holtby's tutelage he can just get better.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think that was pretty sweet epi, boys. I think what do you got for shout
outs?
Can I talk tonight? Please. I can't talk for shit tonight. All right. Shout outs, Russ.
Well, I mean, just to everybody that's listening, even our newcomers. I think we've gotten a few new countries here.
We did. It's pretty cool. We're actually, it's actually surprising countries too, like Singapore, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, Mexico. That's pretty sweet, man.
So shout out to our boys out there, or gals. I mean,
yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, and everybody else especially. You guys are what keeps this going. We love what we do. And, I mean, take it away, Bryce.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Daniel and Mariantha. You guys are going through a little bit of a hard time. We just want to wish you all both the best.
Yeah.
And again, also really big shout out again to everyone at the Edmonton Oilers, their family, their whole organization base. Lots of Joe. It's horrible, and we're with you guys. And on top of that, just a big shout out to my family and friends and the boys at the Beaks and Beer Nation.
Yeah, I want to say always a huge thank you to My Beer Nation, big, also Dog Nation always, and I do want to take the time to throw a huge shout out to our boy Keith Sanders.
Yeah.
If you guys have noticed, he hasn't been around, and unfortunately, he's going to be taking some time. Just working at, trying to work up that life and work life